All right, welcome back to the Q&A. My name is Bryan Anthony Davis. Sorry for that technical difficulty that we had here. Give me a thumbs up in the comments if we are good to go and ready. I hope we are here. Let's see. Are we okay now? Could somebody please let me know in the live chat? I'm sorry for the technical difficulties, and we've got a thumbs up. We are ready to go. So that was 3 minutes of me looking confused. I do appreciate you bearing with us for that. So I tell you what, let's do it right. Let's do it here. And my gosh, Kathy, you're making me laugh. Yes, you're all welcome to my house. Just don't pee on my couch. You know what? This is what we're going to do because I screwed this all up. We are going to start it off right with this.
Ready, set, go. Running in the fast lane, rolling with the hit squad, shining like gold, tear up the road.
All right, it is time for the Q&A. My name is Bryan Anthony Davis. I'm Jedi mind tricking you to say, hey, this is the first time you're seeing me tonight. And I am so excited because this is the eve of what could be the Steelers' ascension into the playoffs or another winter swoon. Now, here's what we got to ask. And this is the question. And remember, this is your show. This is the Steel Curtain Network. It's our tradition here. This is your show to go ahead and say, this is what we've got going on. This is the questions that we want. You format this whole thing. I'm just the guy that carries it out. I'm going to start off with the first question here. And is this a perfect Steelers storm? Or is it the same old winter swoon, like I just mentioned? And that's the thing we've got to ask here. Because I like the way this is shaping up with the Steelers actually being underdogs because of how good Baltimore looked last week, how poor the Steelers looked. I still think that was just crazy last week. And it's going to be hard not to convince me that they were more concerned with Myles Garrett getting, as far as I'm concerned, a meaningless record than going out and winning the game. Sure, Myles Garrett could have wrecked their whole deal. I get it. But I thought they were very conservative when they didn't have to be. In fact, again, I would have loved to have seen a sack come early. Get it out of the way. So Afton says this, Baltimore's coming in mad. They feel like we stole the game last time. You know, that's fine. But, and you know, they will. But the Steelers are mad too. Because even though Aaron Rodgers wasn't here, this team remembers last year. So let's go ahead and look at all the questions here. I am going to, as you know, I am going to be in stadium tomorrow night. It was my 18-year-old son surprised me with tickets on Christmas Day. In fact, and you could tell he's my son because the gift he gave me was a framed picture of himself autographed. And I was like, great. Because he threatened the whole time that that's what he was going to do. And I'm like, really? Okay, thanks for the gift. And he said, Dad, open it up. And so I opened up the picture and the tickets were behind there, or the printout of the tickets, because you don't get tickets these days anymore. So I am going. I was not excited about the fact that, I don't know about you guys, but now that I'm a certain age, I cannot handle cold weather anymore. I just can't. But Dave Schofield told me the other day that, look, there's not expected any snow or precipitation or anything like that. So we should be in good shape. So that's what I'm hoping here. Now let's go ahead and talk about this game and what you think about this game as far as everything goes. And we're going to go ahead and look here. And the question at the beginning is, will Bad figure out the sound? Yes, he did. And as you can tell, I did. I was just having some trouble with my with everything here. Afton Ford, great fan of the show. Also, good job guesting on the show, I guess a week and a half ago on Pump Your Brakes. Excellent job. I was really proud of you. How many rushing yards do the Steelers get this week? You know what? I'm more concerned with the rushing attempts. If you have the attempts, I think the yards are going to come. And I know that's very easy to say because, you were getting yardage against Cleveland rushing. You just weren't rushing enough. Aaron Rodgers was throwing so much. You have so many things to look at there. But I really think that they can come close to 100 yards, but just have a smart balance is what I'm concerned about more. A smart balance. Don't try to reinvent everything. Just try to get it going. Pat Freiermuth is the key. I don't know how healthy Calvin Austin is coming in. He's playing, but he can help open some things up here too. Just don't try to replace DK Metcalf with MVS. Use MVS. You need him. But don't just say, okay, you're the new DK. Doesn't work. Robert Whitney says this. Rumors of Mike Tomlin leaving and Steelers already having a new coach in mind. Shula was one, and the other is the coach of Michigan. If the coach of Michigan, or you're talking about Sharon Moore, I think that's not going to happen as he is gone, unless you're talking about the guy that they just brought in. Now, I will say this about Chris Shula. I do some things for the Los Angeles Rams Insider podcast here on Fans First Sports Network, and I see his press conference every single week. This guy, first of all, he's a Shula, and he's a real deal as far as defense. But we're not going to talk about that now because I'm hoping for a long run of the 2025 season. That might not be what's happening, but that's what I'm hoping for. But that's a guy in the back of the mind that you can think about, that a guy with a connection to Don Shula worked before in 1969 for the Steelers for a long, long time. 60s, 70s, 80s, even into the 90s. The very end of the 60s, very beginning of the 90s. I get it. But 4 decades. You still can count them as 4 decades, right? Knight Rider, I can't deal with another bummer season ending. Neither can I. Neither can any of you. And we aren't ready for that yet. I still think the Steelers, I call them the Steel Phantom Steelers. This is the year of the Steel Phantom. They are a roller coaster. And so this kind of fits. I like this. Kit Kittredge. Vegas wants the dog to win. Vegas always wants the dog to win. Yeah. And I got to tell you, I like the Steelers being underdogs in games like this. Now, they were the underdogs last year in the playoffs against Baltimore. And come on, this is a playoff game. But what I'm going to say here is the fact that there's a disrespect for the Steelers right now when just 2 weeks ago, everybody was jumping on the bandwagon of the Steelers again because they won 3 straight. Then that game happens. Good. That game's out of the way. And I think you're going to see a much different plan, a much better plan. Young wood burning, or youngin wood burning. I've messed that up for years. Great fan of the show. At bad, over under Gainwell targets 5.0, over under carries 7.5. It's got to be over. Plus, congratulations to Kenneth Gainwell, Kenny G. He's the team MVP. So if they're voting him as the team MVP, treat him as the team MVP. They were all out of whack. They were absolutely out of whack. I think the whole Myles Garrett thing, I keep saying it, I know. I just think that was so much. Bad, you wear a heated hoodie at cold games like tomorrow. I don't have a heated hoodie. My son just got a heated jacket, which I love the idea of. I'm a lot bigger than him, so he's the size of me at his age. Him at 18, I'm probably smaller than him, and I was probably smaller than he is, and he goes about barely 130. But he has one. Me, I am going to be completely bundled up. In fact, I've got the black long johns here all ready to go. I've got the Lycra. My wife always laughs when I say, hey, I've got Lycra. Me trying to sound cool when it's not even close. Kathy Ford says this Dave would wear shorts. I was with him in that Buffalo game. Dave wore pants. So, yeah, I am going to bundle up. The one thing I hate, I like to wear glasses to the game. You don't see me wear glasses much. I don't have contacts anymore. But I like to wear the glasses, and I like to have my mouth covered. So the problem with that is it fogs up the glasses. So I've got to figure out exactly how to make that work. Probably the best thing to do, maybe a ski mask. I don't know, but I have stuff to stay warm. It's my feet that's always a problem. I could keep my head warm, my face warm. I've got to bundle up the feet. And I like being comfortable walking that far. So, it's tough. What is my oldest piece of Steelers memorabilia? Vegas TJG. I am going to probably have to say a visor and a terrible towel from Super Bowl 14. My parents went to Super Bowl 14, and you've heard that story. I know you've heard the story because the story is that Terry Bradshaw, gave me heck because I said I was still mad at my dad for not taking him because my dad and I went to an autograph signing. So I bet you, not very professional, but let's see what we can do here. It's in one of these drawers, and here it is. This is, I think, one of my oldest pieces of memorabilia. This is Pittsburgh Steelers, Super Bowl 14, Rose Bowl, Rams. And it's the visor. And I love this thing. I like the way I look in visors, by the way. I also have something that I can't pull up because it's up there. But I have some cans from the 1970s. Some of them still have beer in them. However, I acquired them later on. But there is one thing that is also up there that I have that is Avon perfume in a Steelers decanter. Still has the I'm sorry, not perfume, aftershave. I gotta bring this up. Black Magic 7777, not here to be negative, just trauma bonding. LOL. I love that. This is a great question, Robert Whitney. Would you rather see the team lose this game so Tomlin gets the boot? Never. I said this the other day, and I'm careful the way I say this because I usually say it another way because I'm not very political at all. I am not political at all. But whoever's my mayor, my governor, my president, whether I like him or hate him, I'm rooting for them to succeed so we succeed as a country, just like, or a state or what have you. And that's the only political I'm ever going to get. And that's what I'm saying here. because I'm not political. Just like the pilot, when I get on the plane, if it's the pilot that banged my ex-wife that caused me a divorce, which didn't happen, but anyways, if it's somebody did that and I find out he's my pilot, I'm rooting for him to have a great day. I'm not going to tell him off until after the flight. That's because he's in my hands. Right now, my Steelers are in the hands of Mike Tomlin. And I think Mike Tomlin is a Hall of Fame coach. I root for Mike Tomlin. I can't root for the Steelers. You know, Vegas fans right now are absolutely rooting for them to lose tomorrow because they don't want the number one seed. They want the number one seed. But the players don't want a number one seed. And I always have trouble, even when it's back in, I remember 1988, man, they went 3 of their last 4. They only had 2 wins. They won 3 of their last 4. And that was the great draft with Aikman and Deion Sanders and Barry Sanders and Derek Thomas. I mean, so many people. And they ended up having the 7th pick, and it was Tim Worley. And it didn't work out. But I wasn't even rooting for them to lose then. I just can't root against them. And, you know, it doesn't matter. You fan the way you want to fan. I just don't think it's going to make a difference. I don't think Tomlin gets the boot because now they can decide and it won't go into effect until after 2026, but they can decide this year, like before March, to say, hey, we're not going to go ahead and give you your option after next year. But they would have to do that before, I believe, March, if I'm not mistaken. So Tomlin might say, all right, let's mutually agree to part ways. And that's the way this is going to happen if Mike Tomlin leaves. So, you know, I can't root for him to lose. Especially, I'm in stadium. There's no way. Because what if they win and you have a situation where they keep winning? Unlikely. I know it's unlikely. But would you... Here's the question for you guys. And I'm going to go ahead and throw this out. Whether you like Mike Tomlin or not, would you trade the next 10 years of keeping Mike Tomlin, let's say 10 years, for a Super Bowl victory this year? Which means you can ever get rid of him if he wins this second one. That's the question. I want to hear those. And Vegas TJG, excuse me, says Tomlin has 2 straight wins from getting an extension. Philly Boyd Studge, will the refs screw the Ravens over again? I don't know. I don't know how screwed they were last time. There were some things I would be angry about. The letter of the law says that was a catch, but then Roman Wilson shouldn't have had that meaningless touchdown catch a couple weeks before. There's talk in the live chat, and the talk in the live chat is about the fact that they threw a lot last time. And Black Magic says 2 weeks ago we had DK. And that's true. Claude Bishop, my good friend Claude, what's worse than losing a division to a rival? Well, anytime you lose a division, you're going to lose it to a rival, but the Ravens, it's tougher. And it's really tough for Dave and I and Jeff and I as well, because being residents of Maryland. Now, I was in Baltimore yesterday. My Christmas gift to my wife was to take her to see Wicked live in Baltimore. And it was the Broadway touring show, I guess is what it was. It was very good. Loved it. And I'm walking, and there were not a lot of people on the streets yesterday. And it was a matinee, so it was 2 p.m. So we were going, it was about 1:30 in the afternoon. I'm walking, and like I said, I saw a woman in a Baltimore jacket, but she didn't see my hat. She was across the street. And I'm walking by, and there was an older gentleman, and he looked at me, and he had a look on his face, and he saw my hat. And it was, we used to call tassel caps. You know, it's a ski hat or whatever you want to call it. A toboggan, some people call it, which I never heard. In Johnstown growing up, a toboggan was a sled, you know. But so the guy looks at me and he starts shouting towards me, but just enough so I could hear it. It wasn't mean at all. He's like, "It's going to be a great game tomorrow night." I said, "Yeah, I am looking forward to it. I'll be in the stadium." He said, "Well, you have a good time." I'm like, "Good luck to your team." You know, that's the way I fan, you know. But I was a little nervous wearing that hat in Baltimore yesterday. You know, I really was. Afton says heated socks are nice. I don't have heated socks. Wonder if I can, you know, I'll have time. I could probably stop at a place for heated socks before I go. You know, Tractor Supply or Harbor Freight probably has them. Yeah, I don't know. What's the other wilderness store? I call them wilderness stores. I mean that. But yeah, losing to a rival is really tough. But it's going to happen. I just hope it's not them. Robert Whitney, A-Rod needs to play like he did in Detroit. Yeah, and I really think he is going to be invested so much more in this game. I think he was invested last week. Kind of felt like he was invested in the wrong thing. Here's Jordan. Dolphins game was so cool, had to buy another ticket. Tickets 500s to section 120 was clutch for $40. My nephew was at that game, and he's going to the game with me, and he's like, "Uncle Bryan, you know what we did? We checked on in the second quarter. We checked on Ticketmaster to see what seats were empty, and we just went and claimed them." I'm like, "Hey, that's pretty smart." But no, I am looking forward. I'll do whatever I can to keep warm. Mark Malone, I had a Terry Bradshaw rookie card when I was a kid. Something I've been having a lot of fun doing. Now, this is I do you know what? That's a good thing to say. I do have a Terry Bradshaw rookie card, but I acquired it in the early 2000s. And then this year I decided for fun that I would try to get tops every single year of the Steelers. And now they quit making them tops in the last 10 years. So I switched to Don Russ, but I think tops is coming back with football, or if they already did this year. But I think the oldest card that I have is I have some Steeler. I'm trying to do a set for the Steelers from the 1950s now too. So I have a couple. I had a Buzz Nutter card, but I gave it to Jeff. I wanted to give it to my friend Jeff, but I do have a binder that I'm looking at here, which I have every single Topps card from every year from 1969 to now to current. And I'm working on 1956 to 1968. So, but I'm just getting them now. And I'm trying to be strategic on that. We're going to go ahead and take a break. But I do want to say something. I'm watching the 49ers and the Seahawks live, and this is for the division. It's possibly it looks like it's for the number 1 seed. And by the way, the 49ers uniforms, my gosh, the all black and the black helmets with the gold popping. Oh, they're gorgeous. And the Seahawks always have decent uniforms, whether they're home or away. But so visually, it's really stimulating. But the 49ers are driving right now. But it's 13-3 in favor of the Seahawks. These are two teams that put up a lot of points, but they're division rivals. And I think it's going to be that ugly. Now, remember, it's cold in San Francisco because it's San Francisco, well, Santa Clara, but it's cold there. But it's not what's going to be cold. It's not the version of cold that's going to be tomorrow night. And what I'm trying to say is throw out records. You really can't throw out. I mean, the records are pretty much the same here, but you can throw out a lot of things because division rivals play with so much more heart, with so much more violence, with so much more venom. They really do. So I'm looking at this game right now, which should be high scoring. And even with the defenses tomorrow, I think it'll end up being a lot lower. I still took the over because that's what I do. And right when I'm saying this, there's like a fight, what could have been a late hit and a little bit of a scrum on the sidelines. I mean, it's anger. In the NFL, they started doing this in about 2011, making the last play of the game, the last week of the season, being against a division rival. And that was because there was so much tanking going on. Like the Colts, I mean, they were tanking like crazy, and it made it really rough. And they thought they can stop some of it. You can't stop all of it, but they were able to stop some of it. But they know how divisional teams play. And the 49ers are about to tie the game. I would be shocked if they don't. Not tie the game, excuse me. About to, it looks like they're possibly going to score a touchdown. They're in a goal-to-go situation. And this is going to be a tight game. And for tomorrow being for all the marbles in the division, man, I'm looking for so much. You know, somebody said, wow, I was surprised that Lamar Jackson came back. I'm like, why are you surprised? I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised that TJ Watt's back. TJ Watt, I don't think would have been back if they would have won last week. And I just jinxed the 49ers. They just got it intercepted on like the 2-yard line. Wow, Seattle's for real. Go back to week 2 and you're like, I can't believe the Steelers lost to Seattle. All right. I am going to go ahead and take a break. We will be right back after this. If you're watching on YouTube, all you got to do is just pause 5 seconds. If you're listening on audio, make sure you listen to these fantastic advertisements because it's something you might want to check out. Stick around. All right, we are back. My name is Bryan Anthony Davis. Thank you so much for checking us out. And this is just so much fun. I love talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers. I love a chance to go ahead and talk with everybody who is so passionate about this black and gold team and who have followed us. Some of us of you have followed us that I know about for 10 plus years. And that means a lot. My first podcast was in 2016. And then Jeff and I did the we called it the hangover at first because it was the next day. We kind of originated the hangover thing. But it was the post-game show, but we didn't really do it until the last game. Then we started doing it the same night, and the rest is history. Let's go ahead and keep things going. Young and Wood Burning, great one. If you don't follow, I would check out Debo and Joe and listen to Debo's response. Anytime James Harrison talks, I'm listening. I think he's great. And remember, I had a few conversations with him. And twice I met James Harrison. And one time ended up I was at a urinal next to him having a conversation with him. And that was really odd. But here we go. Great one. When teams tank, I doubt the players try to lose. The front office is just revamping things to get younger and reset the team, assuming they know what they're doing. Yeah, and I get it, because if you're a player, man, you are auditioning for your life on that team. So you don't care about the rookie that might come in and try to take your job. So Kenny Pickett and for the Raiders and Aiden O'Connell, they're both going to split some time tomorrow. It's already been decided. They're going to do whatever they can to win that game and not get the stud quarterback. Why would they? Everybody, I mean, nobody wants to lose their job to a rookie. Yes, they want the team to get better. And it's interesting because I was with Ryan Clark in 2007 at an autograph signing, and I was working it. So I was at the same table. And we didn't have cell phone. I still had a flip phone back then, but we didn't have cell phones like we do now, where it's a lot harder to get the updates and getting the draft. It was refresh. It was hard to get draft information, but he kept on yelling down to me because he found out what I was doing to find out who the Steelers got. I'm like, 2 more picks. And that was the year that you thought the Steelers were going to go ahead and get Darrelle Revis, and they were going to take him. But then the Jets, who had the 16th pick, the Steelers had the 15th pick, traded with Carolina to move up to get Revis. So the Steelers ended up with a very good pick, Lawrence Timmons. People weren't as excited about Timmons because they wanted Pitt's Revis. Alaquippa's Revis. You know, they wanted that guy. But it worked out pretty good for the Steelers. Would have worked out great if they would have had Revis too. But Clark wasn't talking about Revis, but when he found out they got the linebacker, he goes, "Oh, they got the linebacker? That guy's good. Florida State guy? That guy's good." So they look at that. They get excited, but they're not going to lose a game to go ahead and do that. The Steelers aren't going to lose a game to get Mike Tomlin or anybody fired. They just don't. And I'm not saying that anybody has said that. But, you know, I just really think that the players are out there to win every single week. And I know I keep talking about the Raiders, and I'm going to be accused of being a Raiders fan, but I do a lot of stuff with them. And Max Crosby is incensed that he got shut down. That's why he's showing videos of him playing basketball. saying, I'm good enough to play. You know, you can't really, it's not like what the Dolphins did, the tank for Tua type thing. But, you know, you can't, there's no sanctions against the Raiders. But yeah, he's ticked off. I just brought up the wrong thing. Here we go. Oric 37. Since having a late round draft pick this year, hope the scouts did a great job scouting for a late round quarterback gem like Purdy or Brady. Yeah, and I think there are some out there. I think Garrett Nussmeier, who a lot of people thought was going to be the number one pick last year, that was a horrible situation. Just a horrible situation with Brian Kelly at LSU. And what I'm thinking is that guy was such a stud last year. It was a bad situation this year. I'm thinking that what if he's something special that they can get in the second or third round? You know, second and third rounders have worked out before. So, you know, that's a thing there. It really is. Lifelong fan 07. I believe the Steelers will win tomorrow, or am I crazy? No, because if I was perfectly convinced that they were going to lose tomorrow, I picked against them, but Dave and I picked against them more strategy. But there's a part of me that likes the underdog, and I think the underdog situation gives them more of an opportunity to win. Is Elliott coming back if we make the playoffs? Brian Miswa asks. With Ramsey going to safety in addition of Duggar really shored up our secondary a lot, where do you think Elliott would fit in? I don't think you're going to see Elliott. If the Steelers make the AFC Championship game, or if the Steelers make the Super Bowl, this might be a Rod Woodson situation, even though Deshaun's not Rod Woodson. But I kind of think it's like that. I think he is definitely, I think it's going to be a stretch for him to even play then. But we'll see. Duggar has been, if you ranked the Steelers players top 5 as far as impact this year, at the beginning of the year, you would have never had Duggar there. Well, because he was a trade. But you would have never had Kenny Gainwell there, and Kenny Gainwell's their MVP. Duggar has come in, and the sad thing about the whole Duggar thing is those 2 years were voided off of his contract, which you could have had him for another 2 years. But I think he was very expensive. So they have, I would almost think that Duggar would be the guy that you can possibly convince to stay for as much as he's loving it here, or says he's loving it here. So that would be amazing. A lot of people with suggestions on where I can get stuff. Best case scenario, wood burning. Best scenario would be Rodgers signs 1 more year, with Will Howard start 2 to 3 plus games, and Will Howard a super quarterback franchise level. Yeah, I think that's a stretch. I would love. I mean, my son's bummed. He was hoping to see Will Howard tomorrow. And especially if they had nothing to play for, that would be great. This team should not have to be fighting for the division, says Robert Whitney, when they had control of it for most of the season, especially when the Ratbirds started 1-5 and Steelers were off to a 4-1 start. If I'm Art and this is a dude game for the team, you have to make decisions. Enough is enough. I get it. But if you look at the schedule, and I'm not making excuses, but the Ravens' schedule was a lot less brutal. I mean, the Steelers' schedule was so much easier at the beginning and so much more brutal at the end than really what the Ravens were. Now, the Ravens have had some tough games lately, but Green Bay ended up a whole lot easier for Baltimore than it was for Pittsburgh, because they didn't have to deal with Tucker Kraft. They did not have to deal with Jordan Love. They did not have to deal with Micah Parsons. And Pittsburgh did not have to deal with Kansas City at the beginning of the year, and did not have to deal with Buffalo at the beginning of the year. And also, remember, they played the Rams, who were a very good team, but the Rams, most of the reason that they lost that game to the Rams is because you lost Lamar Jackson there, and you had how many games of Cooper Rush, which was just not good. So I would go ahead and say that, I get what you're saying there, and I respect what you're saying. I still think the schedule had a lot to do with that. Okay, everybody's telling me about, I'm glad you're saying this, it's 69 degrees there. I am telling you this. 1993. I got to see Barry Bonds against the 93 Phillies. I went to a game. It was July 23rd of 93. I wore a muscle shirt to this game. Remember, I was a lot smaller. And it was a day game. And I was like, why are people wearing parkas? It was cold. It was like a 74, 75 degree day. But that wind, man, is tough. And my oldest son lives in San Francisco. He and his wife are up there, and we went to a Giants game just last year, and this was August, where I spent the week before in Boulder, Colorado, and Denver, and it was like 90s, and we didn't wear shorts all week. And it was there were some days in the 80s. Let's go ahead. And would you like a not so Super Bowl where the worst two teams, that's John S., by the way, play a game a week before the Super Bowl for the number one pick? Yeah, that'd be awesome. That would be amazing. I love that idea. Because look, I hate the lottery system. I'm fine with you being the worst team. But as Afton says, John, that would be more entertaining than the Pro Bowl. So, yeah, I really like that. And I get, Robert, man, I get what you're saying. I definitely get what you're saying, buddy, about Art with enough is enough. Art's not that kind of guy. Art had to be convinced. And I know this for a fact. Had a really good source that said Art had to be convinced by Mike Tomlin to get rid of Matt Canada. It was just Art had to be convinced. And he trusted Mike enough to do it. I just don't think it's that easy for him to say enough is enough. I don't think he's the guy to do it. Now, I'll turn around and say, I can't wait for Dan Jr. to get in there, because I think Dan Jr. is going to be the guy that turns it into that. I think he's going to be less sentimental. Let's put it that way. I don't want to say, we say a lot of things about art and a lot of derogatory things about art. Art's a good man. He's not the businessman that his dad was. And you know what? The original Art was not the businessman that his son was. His son, Dan Milton Rooney, was the reason that team did what they did. That's the reason for the 70s and everything. Now, Art approved everything. Art Sr. approved everything. I just think that this is just a different guy. And he gets a lot of crap. They're not going to sell the team. I mean, so if you put a sell the team billboard up, I'm not going to rip on that guy, I promise. But it's not the thing. It's staying within the family. But the sooner that Art 2 steps aside and Dan gets in there, I think we as fans will be a whole lot happier. Pittsburgh Toddy says this: I don't have anything to say except win the damn game. I think that's perfect. Afton says, I think Art wants to honor the reputation for being loyal to his people, but sometimes it goes too far. And I get that. That's very true. Great one. Dan Jr. will probably have some new, fresh ideas. I heard he's more of a football guy than Art, too. Yeah, I think he is. I also kind of think that, if I'm not mistaken, I always thought it was Dan who was the one who scouted Willie Parker 20 some years ago, but I don't know Dan's age. And it was a Rooney, though, that found Willie Parker, a guy that had 200 some yards, 236 yards or something like that his senior year. It was a new administration there. I mean, they went away from him. I am going to have to look that up one of these days, but I think it was Dan. So I'm just saying that that's your solution. But I think the Mike Tomlin thing is going to come to a head in the next 2 years, possibly. Doesn't mean he's leaving in the next 2 years, but there's going to be a definitive decision. Dan Martin, Afton saying it was the guy that scouted Willie. I kind of thought that it was I thought it was a Rooney, but I'm not, unless Dan Martin is a Rooney. I don't know. But I guess I was wrong on that. That's fine. All right, it's time to go ahead and get on out of here. I thank you so much for hanging out with us. This is going to be a very Dan Martin is a Rooney. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and read this. Martin is the middle name. Dan Martin. Oh my gosh, there's a lot of Dans. Bad year stories of the Steelers in the 90s make me enjoy these not so good eras. I've only known winning football my entire life, fan since 03. It's a journey to the next SB. Enjoy the ride. 03, man, that's week 3 of 03. And here's the thing. John, I'm going to tell you this. Go ahead and look up. I'm going to go ahead and give them props. I think they're amazing. I would love to meet them. McMillan and wife, excuse me. They run Steeler games, and you can go ahead, and they don't do any advertising on there. So it's and it's not through YouTube, but they have their own site, and you can watch so many old games. And I'm telling you, man, they are so special to watch. You've got a lot of games that I can suggest to you. I could make you a top 10 list of games, and you could watch them in full, sometimes with the commercials, and the commercials are fun too. And I laugh. This is the most 2 a.m. thing you're going to get from me. But I was watching the 1984 game, December 30th, 1984, one of my most favorite games. And because it was the Steelers at the Broncos. The Broncos were 13-3. The Steelers are 9-7 going into this game. And they knocked off the Broncos to go to the AFC Championship game. And then everybody knows my special name for the coach that the Steelers are facing tomorrow. And there was a computer company called Wang Computers. And their tagline, they're like, the NFL 84 is brought to you by blah, 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 and Wang and Wang. Then their tagline was this: Wang, we put people in front of computers. I'm thinking there's a lot of people that are in front of computers with that in mind. Sometimes it rolls your brain, doesn't it? No, but there's so many cool games to check out. I love watching those old games. 94, the playoffs in 94, they beat Belichick's Browns. So yeah, tomorrow's gonna be special. Anytime the Steelers play the Ravens, it's special. Even when the teams were bad. 10 years ago, the Steelers were on their way to the playoffs. It was 2015. The Ravens were having a horrible year. It was the Ryan Mallett game. Dave was there. I was there. We didn't know each other yet. But what happened? Well, they knocked off the Steelers. Because just like last week, if you're not going to the playoffs and you're having a bad year, there's nothing better than knocking off the hated rival. So tomorrow is a different situation that we've never seen with winner take all. Last game of the season, Ravens and Steelers, we've never seen it. And it's going to be really, really cool. I will be at the game tomorrow. I cannot wait for this game. If you see me, if you're at the game, you see me, come over and say hello. You'll know my face. I won't know yours. But tell me who you are, and I can't wait to see you. I'm going to try to get early. I just got a text while we're doing this. One of my best friends in high school I haven't seen for 32 years lives down south. He's going to the game. So I saw on Facebook he was going to the game. I shot him a message, just shot me a message back. I shot him a message on Facebook. I gave him my number. I'm going to see him tomorrow for the first time. I'm going to see my good friend Nap, who's in the live chats a lot. So definitely want to go ahead and if I see you, that'd be awesome. Would love to see all my Steeler fans. As far as everything goes, we're blessed to have you here. Thank you so much. Have a great night. And I hope tomorrow night, in the next 24 hours at this time, we are having one of those nights where Dave and Jeff, I probably won't be on unless I get back to the Airbnb in time. But I probably won't be on the show. They're not expecting me in the show, but I'm going to stay in Pittsburgh. So I won't be on the show, but I'm hoping there's a lot of celebration. And I'm hoping we aren't trying to keep everybody off the ledge. Blue nose steelhead. Are you heading for the Beehive to celebrate if there's a win? Absolutely not. My godson slash nephew and my son are 18 and 19 respectively. And I don't think they really wouldn't get in. And I don't want to see either one of those guys getting a lappy. Trust me, I do not want to see that. They can go ahead and do that on their own. All right, it's time to get on out of here. I am bad. You are the best. And as always, this is the Steel Curtain Network, Fans First Sports Network. Check out steelcurtainnetwork.com. It's chock full of great stuff. Also, coming up on the audio only side, wherever you download your favorite podcast. If you're not listening to our official pregame show, it is Dave Schofield and Last Minute Thoughts. So make sure you check that out. I got to bring this up. This is the first time I've had one from Bavaria. I am JATSE 6189. I'm not going to try to, I'm a say, maybe. I don't want to offend you. I'm not sure how to pronounce that, but the first time I've got anything from Passau, Bavaria. Awesome. Thank you. Again, man, doesn't matter where you are. We have the ability to be here together, near and far. You could be in the same town as me, like Claude, or you could be from Bavaria. And we have that one love, and it's the Pittsburgh Steelers, and this is great. Blessings to you. I hope everybody had a great holiday and a great new year. 2026, let's continue making 25 special. We've had some special podcasts after games. Let's have a 10th one. And that all starts if the Steelers, as underdogs, can pull off the win. This is the my gosh, this is the Q&A. And as always, just when you think you've got all the answers, what do we do here at Fans First Sports Network, Steel Curtain Network? We keep changing the
Ready, set, go.